Hey everybody, welcome to Jeff on the Town. We're sitting here today with James Rabe of Y105 FM. Before we get into that too much, I do want to say James knows that he's appearing on this show and his opinions are that of his own only and do not reflect that of his employer, sponsors, or management of Y105.
Hashtag truth.
Perfect, here we go. All right, so first of all, James, tell me about you. Who is James Rabe?
James Rabe was born in Detroit, raised in northern Michigan, moved to Rochester, Minnesota in 1987-ish to hang out with my sister and her son, moved to Michigan, moved back to Minnesota, then moved to Fargo, then moved to Idaho, then moved back to Rochester.
Around.
I'm a radio guy. That's kind of how we do.
And we're going to talk about that. Oh, okay, let's get into that right away. First of all, how long have you been in radio?
Since 1984 when I was 16.
Okay, and now you kind of, my next question, where all have you worked? You've kind of covered that.
Yep.
Some of that, this is the only heavy question I'm going to ask you for the whole show, is some of those moves have been on purpose, and some of those perhaps have been due to necessity.
Right.
In an industry where people can get fired at the drop of a hat, when I used to work in it, you could get fired because you knew more than the boss, or your ratings weren't well, or were making the dreaded format change. Yep. Have you been fired?
I have been. I've only been fired once.
Okay.
Well, that's not true. I was laid off when I was 16 because a guy bought the station, got rid of everyone.
Okay.
So, but that's not, I had nothing to do with that. I wasn't a bad guy or anything.
Sure.
I was 16.
Exactly.
And then when I went to Fargo, I loved it. Fargo's a blast. I love Rochester. I loved Fargo, and my contract was not renewed, and officially it's a layoff. But it's also a firing. You know, you're in your soul. Sure. They take your mojo, and you feel like crap.
So then, okay, that was my next question. How do you feel about that? How do you do? Obviously, you've landed on your feet. So how do you deal with that? How do you cope with that?
When I was laid off, I spent a lot of time looking for work. I made it my job was to look for work, and so I had that to focus on. A lot of time you don't look for work, and you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I'm unemployed. Go. But most of the time, I was doing stuff actively. I was exercising, and I was daily from like 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. working on getting a job.
Okay.
And then I hit the road and traveled a ton. I was fortunate that I had paid most of my bills off. My mortgage in Fargo was affordable, and I was able to keep it going. And I just you keep alive with hope that a job is coming. But there's a bigger thing in my life that caused problems. You would think that firing, big deal. I deal with depression and anxiety. You think that would have triggered it. It did not. It was a challenge for me. Okay. And for whatever reason, when I get a big challenge, I am more positive than negative. But later on, when I was younger, dealt with depression in Rochester, working nights and mornings on KROC. I dealt with depression, saw a psychologist, and took medications and exercise and all that. And then I moved to Idaho eventually after Fargo, and I needed a kidney transplant. And after the kidney transplant, bam, the depression came back hard. Wow. But then I moved to Minnesota, came back to this same building where I started my real career, I think. And I was dating someone in Idaho still, and it did not work out. And I was plunged into a 2-year-long, very deep, hard depression. But what saves me is my job, because my job is to be the radio guy. Right. And that helped me get through the days. And also, therapy and friends and taking medications and stuff, it all made a difference. But what was most important was one thing that a gal named Courtney Lawson, who used to run the NAMI Southeast Minnesota office, I told her one time, I really need to call and see my doctor. And she said, well, what can I do for you? Yeah. And I said, just tomorrow, send me a text, give me a call, do something to say, go call. And at that moment, I will do it. Because sometimes you got to catch yourself unawares. Exactly. And what she did was she sent me a picture of T-Rex. Sasquatch going into a clinic. And the headline was, sometimes even Sasquatch needs to ask for help.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And I did it. And that was what started my recovery.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And so now we're a few years down the line. And, it's depression. It's a beast you have to fight.
Yeah.
But
daily.
It's recovery, and it works. And I am so glad to have the friends I do.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That was great. That's our whole interview. Thank you, everybody. So let's continue. So you started in radio in 16. What interested you in radio? How'd you get here?
The honest to goodness truth is that my brother John was a radio guy. He worked at the radio station down the hill part-time and worked at Big Boy Restaurant part-time. You remember Big Boy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, he came home smelling like grease and angry from that, and he came home with girls' numbers from the radio station. What do you think I chose?
Same reason I got into radio. Meet girls.
Yeah. We followed the Gene Simmons rule.
Kids, that's not a good motivation in the long run.
No, it is not. But I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was a blast.
So, and after all these years, now you've been doing this since you were 16, you
Yep.
said, and now we were just talking off air, and you're 50-ish.
Oh, I'm going to be 53 in December 9th.
Okay. So how do you stay current and hip and maybe fresh as the right?
It used to be by advising Key Clubs, the high school version of Kiwanis. I did that from about 93, starting at John Marshall High School, all the way till I'd moved back 2015, and I did it in Idaho. I had 2 high schools there. That way I was staying in touch with youth, and it's really more about my mission about helping people become leaders. One of my missions in life is that, to help people move forward, find their version of leadership in themselves and help them move on.
Okay.
But it had the side effect of letting me know what's going on.
What's happening? Yeah,
What is up, as they used to say.
Sure. So the young people tell you about the blind spot you have back here because I am old.
Right.
Okay. So
and now it's just social media
of course.
and hanging out with people my age, because now my target audience is people,
All right. Cool. What is the best part about radio? What do you love about it?
The thing I love the most is that I can amplify voices that don't often get heard, and I get to help others help people.
Tell me more.
I'm being on the NAMI Southeastern Minnesota board.
Okay,
hold
on with that. What is NAMI?
Oh, sorry.
For those who don't know.
NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and
Okay.
I'm talking about the Southeast Minnesota chapter. I was on the board for quite a long time, and I deal with the depression and anxiety, so I was able to help amplify their message, and I was able to it gave me an opportunity to reach out into the community personally, because NAMI does this great thing called QPR: question, persuade, refer, which means I'm going to try and save you from suicide.
Okay.
It's where you ask your friend, hey, are you thinking about hurting yourself? Are you thinking about completing suicide? And having the guts to ask that question, and knowing that if you give them the idea, it's not going to be like, oh, I never thought of that before, now I'm going to complete suicide. It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
But if they are, you've started the conversation, and then you talk to them for a while, and the persuade is trying to persuade them to go get help. But really what it is listening.
Oh.
And I always like it when I did it for middle schools or grade schools, I'd say, okay, here's how great lesson in listening. They only have a few minutes with you. You know how when you tell your parents you have a problem, you finally work up the guts to tell them and talk to them about a problem you have, and almost before you're done talking, they're talking. Don't do that. Let them talk. I helped a friend, and it was probably a good 2 hours of us just not talking a whole lot, with little things coming from her now and then.
Yeah.
Being safe and comfortable, and then you try to get them someplace. You try to refer them. In one case, I took the person to the emergency room. In others, I connected them with 741-741, which is a text line for help. You can speak to or text with people, and you don't have to talk to them, because talking sometimes is too hard. 741-741, hey, I need help.
So
that's why I like radio, because it gives me a chance to reach out into the community and do stuff that really fills my soul.
Yeah.
And gives me a chance to show how thankful I am for being alive.
Now, so this may be a duplicate of the same question, but what are some things that you've got to do through this that you're really thrilled that you got to be a part of? Otherwise, I know, working in radio formerly myself, you could go on all day.
Right.
So just give me a couple of.
I'm going to give you one that happened just last Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Just last week, Pasquale Pressa and I got together. He has this plan where he wants to help people that are patients in town, staying for Mayo rather. He wants them to know that they're loved, and we are a community. And that's one of the unique things about Rochester, is it does have a small town feel. And that's what allows us to really wrap the patients in our community hub, right? And so we delivered 2 giant bags full of his fantastic lasagna and everything else to the Ronald McDonald House, to a family where this little 4-month-old, she was 4 months when she first contracted cancer. And now she's older, and it's spread to her pelvic region, and she's here for a special surgery. And I got to interact with that family. And on Thanksgiving Day, the Ronald McDonald House is an amazing place.
Sure.
But what makes it amazing is the staff and the people in the community that fill it with even more love. And that was just such a great hour we spent there talking, relating, telling stories, hearing amazing stories, talking to the kids that saw snow for the first time.
That's a neat thing.
It really was.
Ooh, look. Yeah.
Right. The wonder of 2 children that had never played in snow before. They're out there for hours. And one of the kids said, my heart's in Minnesota now. Well, my family's in California, so I guess I can't stay.
So,
But it's those kind of things, those moments where you just feel so blessed.
yeah, great. So you do radio, and you work on 3 stations now. Is that right?
Well, I'm on Y105 FM,
Uh huh.
and I am also on 103.9 The Dock.
Mm-hmm.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm on KROC AM and 96.9 FM. And I also have a national show, a national classic hit show that you can hear on 104.3.
I did not know that.
Yep, I'm on about 20 markets
Uh-huh.
around the country. And it's just an afternoon show with great, classic hits music
Oh,
that you
fun.
can hear on Fun 104.3 here in town.
I'm gonna look for that. Look for that. Oh yeah. So on that then. So do you find you have to mentally gear shift to do each one, or is James wherever James goes?
It's pretty much I get to be me.
Uh-huh.
That's one of the blessings
Fun.
of being James Rabe is
Mhm.
they don't want me to try and be someone else. So 99% of what I do is 100% me. Sometimes varying levels of it,
Mhm.
because like we're Rochester's Christmas station on Y105
Sure,
FM right
right
now.
now.
So we're not all come on down, woohoo!
Yeah.
Whereas on a classic hits format
Sure.
on 104.3, man, that music is so much fun.
Yeah.
You kidding me? It's just like, yeah, come on,
Come on. Hit me with
bring it on back now.
I'm sorry. Well, now we're gonna let's not go down that road.
Easy.
Okay, so two more questions here. What is, and we've covered a lot of space here. What does James do when he's not on the radio or doing community service, not in the judicial way?
I think it was running. I call that running for mayor,
Yes.
because I'm not trying to run for mayor,
Mm-hmm.
but I recognize that I want to meet people and I want to help people
Mm-hmm.
move up, and that's what the mayor does.
And that's what
And they try to facilitate that change.
and that's what turns James on.
It does. It actually is one of my kinks. Absolutely.
Very well.
But what do I do in my spare time? I hang out with family.
Uh-huh.
I spend a lot of time alone. I like quiet.
Mhm.
People don't always understand that. But I like to hang out with friends. I like to cook. I like to eat. I
Okay.
like to travel. Right now I'm trying to figure out where to go up north in the next few weeks to spend about a week at a cabin.
Uh-huh.
Most folks go to warm.
Sure.
I want to be on a lake somewhere with the snow falling on it.
Okay, so you like to travel. I said 2. I'm going to do more. Favorite place you've been to?
Oh my gosh. Well, my all-time favorite is what I call my ultimate safe space, Mackinac Island
Okay.
in Michigan. I just in September I spent a week there. Or sorry, not a week. I spent a week in Michigan, 3 days at Grand Hotel,
Uh-huh.
which is just this gorgeous hotel. Some family friends owned it
Mm-hmm.
until recently, and so we could always stay.
Excellent.
And it was a relationship my father built,
Mm-hmm.
and it was one of the biggest blessings in my life because it's horses and bikes,
Yeah.
and calm. At night you hear the horses clip clopping down the street,
Uh-huh.
and you have the window open so you can hear the shore, the water come upon
Yeah.
the rocky shore. There's no place like that to de-stress. But it is hard to pick a favorite outside that because looking for work and then living in Idaho and driving around and traveling around, this country is so beautiful.
That's true.
It's just, I mean, there's places in Canada I love,
Yeah.
I've been to Mexico, haven't been many places other than that. But like, I love New York,
Yeah.
and I love
Okay.
Chicago, and I love Twin Falls, Idaho, and I love Boise, Idaho, and I love Portland, Oregon, and I love Bend, Oregon, and I love Salt Lake City, and I love driving to Phoenix because you go through a ton of states, well, maybe
Uh-huh.
really 2 states, but a ton of state, and landscape changes constantly.
Uh-huh.
And the only thing bad about going to Phoenix is that in the summer when I was there, you got to use an oven mitt to open the door of your car.
So
But there's just too many really to say I love it the most.
Mhm.
There's a place in Montana I could stay forever. There's a place in Wyoming, and I never can remember the name of it, but it's a little place where you kind of are about to turn to head south
Mhm.
On the interstate, and it's a little town that must have been a huge mining town.
Uh-huh.
So all the buildings are old, and the restaurants and everything else are all really old looking, but it's all fantastic. They have a huge community spirit, and there's the first radio station built post World War II
Uh-huh.
is there.
Wow.
They put a big hold on copper and all the precious
Of
metals
course,
you need
of
to make
course.
transmitters. And it's this cool old Art Deco building, and it's not used at all. I mean, it's a place they put stuff, and they have transmitters now, but it's in a quiet area in the country, and it's just a very peaceful spot. So they're all over the place.
So I'm hearing basically James loves wherever he is at the moment he's there.
That is very true.
That's what I'm hearing.
And road trips.
Half the fun is getting there.
It is.
It's great. So one more question. This is the last one. This one I'm going to ask everybody is if you could do any job in the world, regardless of, so pay doesn't matter, skill set that you already or do not possess, whichever, it doesn't matter. If you could do anything in the world, what would it be? And it is okay to say, I love what I'm doing right now. What would you do?
Well, I love what I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to add to it public speaking around the country. And write a book. I got to do both those things.
Well, we have to team up.
Right. Only some people tell me I should write a book about my exes. So I dated a bit.
Okay. We won't go down that road, folks.
No. No.
So that's going to wrap it up with me. James, thank you very much. This
Thank
has
you,
been
Jeff.
fun.
I've known you since you were jamming Jeff Duncan.
Yeah.
Working
Yes.
part-time at KROC.
When you moved here, when we met. You're right. 2 doors over.
One of the first things I heard him do on the radio was on New Year's Eve. Or no, it was the time change.
I'm scared.
And so he played a record backwards really fast. We're going back in time. And I thought that was the funniest thing. And that's one of the moments I thought, oh, this radio is a lot more than just playing songs and naming songs.
Yeah. By the way, records, those are big discs. With
The kids know vinyl now.
Oh, that's right.
They're not actually, and what they're missing out on,
Okay.
it's not really as high quality vinyl as it used to be.
Uh-huh.
You can buy the new records and it's awesome because I think it still sounds better than other things. But when you listen to the older albums, those were all tube produced. And so the sound is different on them markedly from taking digital and putting that on vinyl.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love the sound of records, but that warmth we got back in I remember what was the song that came out, the album that came out? Was it Michael Jackson? What was Bad? Was the album called Bad? Because I remember you previewed that.
Yes, we did.
And I asked you how it was. And you're like, oh, it's great, but we were playing that on vinyl back then. On vinyl.
Way back. We are old. So anyway, we're going to let everybody go. James, I'm going to let you go. You have more work to do. So thank you very much. It was my pleasure to meet you today.
Thank you.
Let's take a walk down Main Street. We'll dance and we'll sing to the break of dawn. All night long, we'll sing along to this